Hello, in this video you are going to explore the features and capabilities of Spark Forms Builder for SharePoint on-premise and Office 365 editions. And we will see how easily can create and customize forms on SharePoint environments, lists and libraries, like this form within 10 minutes. Spark Forms Builder is a very user-friendly, special tool to create and customize forms in SharePoint. Spark Forms has many advanced features that are not found in SharePoint Designer nor many other tools. And also you don't need to write any code while creating the form, as you will see in this video. Spark Forms gives you real control over all the fields in your list, and display them in the way you want. Apply rules and scripts on them. Show or hide section. Add images, and colors. Attachments. Collect signatures and much more. Spark Forms gives you the ability to create many interactive forms, such as complex forms with repeater and calculation, as we see here. Spark is fully integrated with any data sources. You can retrieve data from other SharePoint lists and display them in cascading drop-down lists. You can also display the data in data table. You can integrate your forms with workflow. And response to your tasks from the form itself. With Spark Forms you can develop a nice nested repeater, like this. You can also divide your long form using the tabs, like this form. You can also create multi-view or multi-language forms. With Spark Forms you can also create online SharePoint forms, or anonymous forms, to be used on your public website, by external users, or anonymous users. All forms you create using Spark will be responsive on all devices. To explore Spark Forms Builder features and capabilities in detail, we are going to create a SharePoint form for this list, using Spark Forms Builder. As you see here in our list, there is a link to Spark Forms Builder. You will find this link in every single list or library on your SharePoint. So, from here, the form that we are going to be created is linked to the list without any configuration from our side. Open Spark Forms Builder. As you see here, the Form Designer Workspace contains four main areas: the Form Toolbox, the Canvas, the Properties panel, and the top ribbon. The Form Toolbox contains all the controls that can be managed in the design area by simply dragging and dropping them in your form like this. Also, you can simply move them and change their sizes by using your mouse. The Form Toolbox contains general controls, input controls, container controls, integration controls, advanced controls, Spark workflow controls, commonly used controls, list columns, and functions controls. On the right side, here, the Properties panel contains two sections. The Form Properties, where you can control the major aspects of the form, such as layout, anonymous feature, submission criteria, workflow settings, mobile settings, CSS references, editor behavior, and much more. And the Control Properties contains the major properties of the selected control. And the control style properties of this panel appears once you double-click on the control. Through this panel, you can design the selected control easily. On the top, Form Design ribbon contains Designer tab. From here, you can save and publish the form. Auto-populate the list field, or select templates. Control tab. From here, you design and align the controls, or apply rules and functions to the controls. Form Views tab, and Settings tab, where you can create form rules and variables, or create a new list of columns. After we have a look at the main parts of the Spark Forms Builder, let's see how you can build a SharePoint form. You can drag and drop any control like this panel, and modify its properties and also apply some branding to it from the Control Style Properties panel. Cool. Let's add an image and label to customize the form header. Image URL. You can add the image link or upload an image from your device to the SharePoint library. You can add a title by using the label control. Spark Forms provides you the ability to copy the formats from other controls. Also, you can duplicate and align the controls. Now, from the list columns, we will add the columns that we want to be in our form. Let's drag and drop employee name and email controls, and modify their properties. From the control properties, you can add validation for your control, like this field shouldn't be empty. So with one click you can set the required property to be on. You can also add a custom validation, like the email validation. Select from Ready Rules, Email, and here it is. There are many other important properties that you can activate with one click, like disabled, read-only, or hidden. Another essential feature of Spark Forms is that Forms controls can be mapped to SharePoint content type columns in order to store or retrieve data from, and this can be done quickly by SharePoint mapping property field in the property panel. Let's see how the validation rules work. If we try to submit the form without filling in the fields, the form will not be submitted due to the validation issues, and as we see, the validation messages will appear to explain to the user what to do. Okay. Another cool feature in Spark Forms is that you can create SharePoint columns within Spark Forms without the need to go back to the list settings to do that. Let's add a notes column. From the Settings ribbon, click on Create Column. Enter column name and select column type. The newly created column will appear with the mapping controls list. So just drag and drop it into your form and edit its properties. Spark provides an unlimited number of rules to manage the control behavior at runtime. As an example of how to use these rules, we are going to hide or show the return time control based on the selection of the leave type. Select the control, and from the top ribbon under Controls, click on Controls Rules. You can see a group of buttons to manage the rules. Let's add a rule. When you add or manage a rule, the Rule Manager pop-up page will appear for you. This tool will allow you to easily manage rules, type scripts, and behaviors. We can set a rule name, choose a rule type, which can be validation, action, formatting, or ready built-in rules. The Rule Manager contents will change depending on the type of rule you select. As you can see, you can specify your condition in order to run this rule when the condition is met. Also, we have the Assistance panel, which assists you in building the condition script. You will find that it has a list of functions, forms controls, operations, and their descriptions. Let's add a formatting rule to hide this control based on the value of the radio button. Select Rule Type Formatting, and select Event on Change. Write your condition and select the visibility status. Spark has more advanced features to make it easy for everyone to create rules with no time. So if you want to build complex rules and conditions, you can write JavaScripts or jQuery statements, and the rule manager will validate them without any problem. You can use the Camel Query Builder to help you write your queries as well. You can copy the predefined rules and apply them in any control you want, as we are going to apply the hidden rule to the label as well. As I mentioned before, Spark Forms is fully integrated with any data source. You can use the People Picker control to connect with the user profile services in SharePoint, and the Lookup control to connect with any SharePoint list and retrieve data from it. There is a section in the configuration dialog for setting the filter criteria, in order to customize cascading filters for the lookup easily. There are special controls to integrate your form with external data. You can use the external data controls to retrieve data from external content types that have been configured within the SharePoint environment. Let's see how these controls works. Spark Forms also provide us with some special advanced controls that make creating your form easier, like the attachment control. There is a special function for the attachment. This function is ready to use to upload attachments to the form, without the need to do anything else, or to write any code. This feature is already built in the ribbon, so the users can use it to upload files. We can enable or disable this feature from the form properties. You can also customize an attachment add button to your form. With the attachment control, the users can attach files to this form and view the uploaded files, like images, Word, PDF, and Excel, without the need to have a native viewer application installed on the user's machine. Furthermore, the users can remove the attachment file if they have the permissions. Let's see now how to use the electronic signature as another example of the advanced controls. To have an electronic signature, just drag and drop it into your form. Modify the signature control properties. Mapping with the manager signature column. This column is multiple lines of text column, plain text. It's important to mention that the electronic signature is secure and verifiable, and it can replace a handwritten signature. Furthermore, these signatures are responsive and easy to enter on any device, laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Spark Forms gives you the ability to create many interactive forms, such as complex forms with repeater and calculation as we see here. You can use the repeater control in your SharePoint forms to store data, integrated lists together, or display data. With Spark Forms you can develop a nice nested repeater like this as well. To create such a repeater, from the Toolbox panel, under Container, drag and drop the repeater control. The repeater control represents repeating sections containing groups of controls that may need to be duplicated. You only need to set up the controls once, and you will view them at runtime as one row, which can be replicated when users click the Add Item icon in the repeater. So add the controls that you want into the repeater control once, and arrange them as you desire. Then map the repeater with the SharePoint list to store the controls values automatically in it. You can read from or write into the list, which means you can use the repeater to display or store data. Let's design and customize it to be more user-friendly. In each column in the repeater, you can create a custom control that performs various functions, such as counting the number of items or calculating the total values for each row. If you are interested in more details about the repeater control, you can watch the tutorial video listed in the description below. It is worth mentioning that you can link your Spark form with any type of workflow you have, like Spark Workflow, SharePoint Workflow, or any other third-party tool, to have a complete and powerful business process management tool. Create a workflow and let the users respond, delegate, and track the actions of the workflow within the form itself, without the need to write any code. Just drag and drop the actions into your form, and you are set to go in less than a minute. To integrate your form with the any workflow that you had created before, from Form Properties, under Workflow Settings, select the type of workflow you need to connect the form with. Let's select Spark Workflow. As we see here in the Form toolbox, there are new components appear under the Spark Workflow section. Once you define the workflow type, the default dialog of the task actions such as Approval, Review, and Custom Task dialog will appear dynamically in the form once the form is submitted and a task is waiting for current logged-in user's decision. However, you can customize these dialogs the way you want, by dragging and dropping the dialog that you want to customize it in the form and redesign it there. If you want more details about how to create SharePoint workflow approvals, or lazy approval, you can see the tutorials videos listed in the description below. We will see together now how to create multi-views forms, in order to split the large complex forms and simplify them, to build wizard forms, or even provide more data and information. First, design the form in the default view and add the controls to it. Then create a new view. From Views in the top ribbon, click on the New. As we see here, we have a new blank view. Add the form's controls to it. Or you can copy controls from the main view and use them in your new view. There are custom buttons in the form itself to switch between the form views. Or you can create a custom button to switch between the views using the special functions for the views, such as Open Form View. This function is ready to use to show the form view. You can also create a default view for each state of the form: New, Edit, Display, and you will be able to customize the top ribbon buttons of the form for each view by hiding or showing the buttons as desired. Now let's see also how it's easy to create multi-language forms as well. Spark Forms supports all the languages that SharePoint supports, whether it is right to left direction or left to right direction. Just design the form in the primary language. Change the form to the desired new language by selecting the desired language from the top ribbon. Then update the controls properties, and translate the form's labels and custom messages accordingly. And you will have a multilingual form up and running in minutes. These forms will be displayed for the users depending on their operating systems or browser's preferred languages. Okay, as I mentioned before, Spark Forms run on any device, desktop, mobile device, or tablet without having to worry about compatibility, deployment, or application maintenance. Create one form in desktop design, and activate the mobile responsive property from the Form Properties panel. To make the form responsive to all devices, Spark will handle everything without the need to make any configurations. You may need to change the mobile index property number in order to sort the controls in the mobile view, in the way you feel it is more suitable for the users to view and interact. Also, we can use controls priorities. This tool provides you with a comprehensive image of your form's structure, in terms of controls and their priority hierarchy. This is very useful in certain cases where the HTML structure is required to be remanaged. In addition, you can hide some controls in the mobile view by switching on the hidden and mobile property. Last but not least, we will see how to save and publish your form. In Spark Forms there is a special function for the Submit form. This function is ready to use to save the form in a list or library without the need to do anything else or to write any code. This function is already built in the ribbon that comes with any Spark form, and the users can save the form through it. Or you can create a special Submit button for your form. Drag and drop the Save Form button function from the toolbox and customize it. It is worth mentioning that you can enable your forms to be accessed by external anonymous users outside your SharePoint farm and internet environment, and integrate them with your SharePoint on-premises or online 365 lists and libraries using Spark Forms Builder, without the need to create any guest users or set up special environments to able to do that. Furthermore, you will be able to publish these form links on your public website or embed them in its public pages and have all data submitted by the anonymous users stored and managed in your farm without the need to write a single line of code. You will be able to view stored data for anonymous users as well. Build a complete hybrid internet environment for your customers and users in a couple of minutes. Another great feature in Spark Forms is the published versions, which you can find in the top ribbon of the designer. Through this feature you can restore any version of the design's templates you have published. In this way you will be sure that your work is safely stored and preserved. The final thing I want to show you is the publishing feature in Spark. Through this feature you can easily publish the form you have designed to the list or library that you are working on, and this can be done with a click. Also, you can unpublish the form. In this way you will restore the original state of the list or library as they were before publishing the form on them without any loss of data when you that. Spark Forms Builder offers a highly scalable environment designed to handle the most intensive usage, whatever the complexity and number of the controls, since Spark Forms is web-based, so no need for additional infrastructure or client software. Spark Forms Builder has unlimited possibilities. You can create as many forms as you want, and you can integrate them almost with anything. Spark Forms can be used by a variety of industry standards and sectors, from small businesses to large-size enterprises, including governmental, commercial, educational sectors, so they can leverage this technology to enhance their day-to-day operations, make them more efficient, increase productivity, and adopt it to easily to update the regular business and management changes. To try all these amazing features, request your free trial for 30 days from SPARKNit.com, or from the request link in the description below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and if you have a comment please write it down.